In this video, I'm going to share with you some themes that come up around autumnal equinox, fall equinox time, and give you some ideas for rituals to work with at this time of year and a couple plant medicines that are especially powerful and potent to work with right now. So at fall equinox, this is the second time in the yearly cycle where the days are equal to the nights. So the light and the dark are in balance once again. So this is a beautiful time to reflect, to have this moment of pause, to really hold what has happened over the past 6 months. So we went from the balance at the spring equinox to the external trajectory of summer and the light being kind of dominant over the earth in the northern hemisphere. And now we're coming back to the point where we had all our external fun, we had this time of fire and growth, and now we're coming back to this pause again, this moment of balance before we dip back into the darker half of the year in the winter time. So this time, rather than at spring equinox, we're holding this polarity and thinking about then how to toss ourselves into this light half of the year. Now we're holding these two opposites and contemplating what just happened. Often in the summer months, we are so external, we're exploring our relationship externally, and we sometimes lose ourselves. We sometimes lose our connection to our inner truth, and things happen at a quick pace, and we don't always give ourselves time and space to integrate what happened. So one of the words that I really think about at this time is integration. Giving myself time, giving myself pause, giving myself space to really contemplate and reflect what happened over the last 6 months, and giving myself the space to seep it into my cells, to really be with it, to process, and to integrate those lessons into my being. That's where the wisdom comes, is with the integration process. We can go out and learn and do, and then if we don't give ourselves time to really incorporate it into who we are, those lessons are lost. So this is a really powerful moment for integration. So we'll get to some ritual in a little bit, but just keep that in mind. Another word that comes up for me a lot during this time of year is discernment. There is a process of letting go that happens in the fall, as we see externally with the trees shedding their leaves, and also with this idea that we have to trim the fat of what we want to bring in with us into these darker months. Not everything can come with us on this inner journey. Not everything can survive this long haul underworld journey. So what is it that, using this discernment, what is it that we can let go of, that we can shed, that we're no longer aligned with? Maybe it's mindsets, beliefs, relationships, ways of being, habits, how you hold yourself in the world, work. What needs to go? It's kind of like a spring cleaning, except for a fall cleaning. So really getting clear about that process of discernment, so you can carry with you what is precious into these darker, more internal months. And then the last thing I do want to talk about is this idea of the harvest. So this is traditionally a harvest festival. It's, the time of year when there's an abundance of the fruits. Lamas Lunasa was the first harvest festival, and now we move into this, like, we're in the middle of this, like, rich abundance. There's a lot of traditions of apple picking and pumpkins and just like honoring all of the harvest that is happening at this time. So you can think about it externally in that way, and also, again, internally reflecting on this harvest of going back to integration, going back to discernment. What is it that you have created over the past year, over the past 6 months, that's ready to harvest, that's ready to come to fruition, to give you the nourishment, to give you nourishment again after you've poured all of this energy into a project or a relationship or just a way of growing internally. How can you begin to receive from it? How can you begin to harvest all that you've put out in the past 6 months? So great contemplation questions. And so in terms of ritual, you can turn any of these themes into a ritual practice. I'll give you a couple ideas. Well, first of all, you can create an altar. You can create an altar that resembles this time of year for yourself, a place that you can come into some sort of stillness and reflection in this space. It creates the energy of an altar, creates a space that kind of bridges between you and what's greater, what's wider. So it depends on the intention of your altar. This is devoted to the fall season. So whenever I come to this altar, I connect with the energies, the essence, even the plant spirits, some ancestors, whatever it is to you that fall represents. You can create an altar to have this place of stillness. As we turn into now dipping back from here forward, we're going to dip into the darker months, giving yourself time and space for a little extra reflection. So number 1 could be building an altar. Number 2 could be creating intentional ritual at any point of the day. I really love morning and evening ritual, but devoting a daily practice to coming back to yourself, to reflecting, to being quiet, to being still. So we're transitioning out of this very active time and slowly going to percolate into the innermost still point of the year at the winter solstice. But for now, just beginning to, discern, titrate back, beginning to put more routine, more ritual back into your life. So building an altar, creating a daily ritual of some kind to have a moment of pause and reflection. A third ritual that's potent at this time of year is to go apple picking or make some food, bake a pie, make something exciting to your senses or nourishing to honor this time of year and all of the harvest that is available. So again, I think of apples, I think of pumpkins, I think of squashes, anything that to you speaks of the autumnal equinox, this fall time of year, really honoring this gateway into fall by making some nourishing food for yourself. And a fourth idea is to spend some time journaling and reflecting about the past 6 months. So taking specific time to reflect what's happened, how you've grown, all of the challenges, all of the gifts of the past 6 months, and then really taking space with it, reading through it, and giving yourself the intentional space to integrate these stories, to write about, even through the challenging times, what were the pieces of wisdom that I've gleaned and gained from this experience. So giving yourself that intentional reflection time. And one last piece I want to offer you is to, if there is something in your life that you're struggling with, this is a wonderful time to hold two sides of things in equality, right? We're at the balancing point of the year. So if there's an issue that you feel like you're jumbling with, you don't know how to quite make a decision, or if there's something you feel extremely polarized about, take a moment to either just sit in meditation or journal again and reflect on the voice of each of these sides and giving each side the attention that it's vying for, and being able to hold, like step back a little bit to hold both of these perspectives at once, rather than being like totally sucked into one perspective or totally sucked into another perspective or jumping back and forth. Like, what if both could be true, actually? What if both could be true? So giving yourself time and space to work with that. So those are some juicy rituals. There's 5 of them that you can start to play with around this time of year. And I want to now talk about a couple of plant medicines that are extremely powerful right now that I love to work with at this time of year. And the first one is quaking aspen. This tree is one of my absolute favorite plant medicines. But this tree is extremely beneficial for people who've had heightened nervous system, who hasn't these days, but especially people who are very sensitive to, any changes in the environment. There's like a flutteriness, think of the leaves that quake at the slightest flutter of the wind. It's so helpful for calming down the nervous system to remind us that we're connected with something deeper and greater. So aspen has this beautiful, rich, deep, massive clonal root system. That's this wide network that shoots up the trees. So all the trees in one area are actually the same species, kind of like a fungus. So it holds the same DNA down in the roots and it shoots up each tree individually. So it really helps us when we're feeling that kind of sense of anxiety or nervousness, helps us root down into that greater expanse of resource and reminding us that we are part of a community, we are part of something wider and greater than ourselves. And it also, because of this dynamic energy with aspen, it has this polarity, this balancing ability. So it has this connection to this deep underworld root system that's connected with the whole and knows that it's all one. And then also has this energy, each individual tree is like this unique individual expression, helping us step into our creative essence. So it has this ability to really hold opposites. And so that's part of the reason why I love working with aspen. And another reason is due to its ability to calm the nervous system, helping us move from our sympathetic dominance, the flight, freeze response, into just a more relaxed state. It gives us the ability to begin to have space to integrate. And the second plant medicine that I recommend working with is red alder. And now red alder grows along waterways. It's a very watery plant. As we dip into the fall season, we're starting to enter into the element of water out of the element of fire from the summer. And alder has this amazing ability to help rebuild and reclaim. It's one of the first species to grow after a devastation in the forest. It's a very quick growing tree. It helps kind of reclaim the soil, build the nourishment back into the soil after a disturbance. And so it helps us do this after this period of the fiery summer, helps us just get back into our bodies, reclaim ourselves, and nourish ourselves. So alder helps us to assimilate nutrients from our gut. It helps us actually receive more easily in this process of assimilation. So it helps us with this integration. It helps us with starting to receive again after this external wave of the summer. So these two medicines you can find often all over the country, at least. Aspen grows all over the country. I'm not quite sure about alder, but I know that it's pretty prolific, and it's abundant everywhere in the Pacific Northwest along waterways. So you can go and hunt these trees out. You can go sit with them. You can even just call in their essence, call in the energy of them, and trust that they'll come and give you messages. And you can also find their medicine, their tincture, online often. So I hope these ideas and reflections help you celebrate this time of year. May it be a beautiful and powerful time for you. I'd love to hear in the comments below how this resonated for you, any of your particular rituals that you love to work with at this time of year. And give me a like. I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel if you like what you see, and I will see you soon.